Travis Wayne Goodsell. Well, since I'm recognizing a boost in views from those who watch or are familiar with the shows of John Oliver and Bill Maher, and on my videos, we'll keep the string going. I wonder if I should do them for Saturday Night Live too. We'll maybe have to see about that for tomorrow morning. There are a lot of clips this time for Bill Maher's show. Again, he's still pushing his theory that we have to be concerned about the end goal of January 6th, 2025. And all things being equal, yes, that would be a plausible scenario. But things are not equal anymore. America has been overthrown. It is in chaos and ruin. And that's why we're having all these problems. I mean, we have a new Attorney General who is plagued with all sorts of criminal elements already embedded throughout the whole intelligence community, not just the DOJ. And I told you guys from the beginning, Biden needed to just clean house, overturn everything that Trump did. He needed to do it immediately. He failed. Plain and simple. He got a lot. He failed to complete the assignment. And as a result, that's coming back to bite him and bite America and Americans. He also, or Congress, failed to get bills passed. You know, they knew what they needed to do. They failed. They thought that, you know, both Biden and the Congress thought that they would work with MAGA rather than lock them up for insurrection. And so this investigation of the blatantly obvious is now taking too long. And we're doomed, literally. I mean, this is not hyperbole, as Trump claims he does. No, Trump doesn't do hyperbole. He's serious. He even said, "I don't joke." Oh, crap. And so, the failure of our government is then being exploited by the states. They're all setting things in motion. Utah, yesterday, Cox signed the gerrymandered redistricting. It says, the Utah legislature knows best what's for Utah. We had a 76-year-old woman make headline breaking news about how it's gerrymandered. You don't split up neighborhoods. 3 districts in one neighborhood. Oh my God. How hard is it to do districting to include the whole communities, the whole cities? Apparently it's too hard. We have to split things up so that certain numbers of certain party members are in the right places. That's called gerrymandering. It's illegal. Nonetheless, that's what's been going on here in Utah. And I don't know why they need to do this unless they think that for some reason there's going to be an overturn of the Nazi Party here in Utah. Yes, the Nazi Party. That's what MAGA is. They're the neo-Nazis on steroids. WWE steroids. And there's more to that with Joseph Smith history that confirms this. That's the one thing I found in doing church history research, is that the news, government, they all dismiss claims of threats to America now. Back then, oh no, that no longer exists anymore. They're no longer a threat. They've been disbanded, blah, 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 blah. I've found out through studying church history, no, they've been lying in wait all these decades to strike right now. And I guess I'm just not convincing enough about Joseph Smith history being coded, the Book of Mormon being coded. Because everybody knows the Doctrine and Covenants was coded. And so why then not other documents of Joseph's? Even though I've gone over with you that Joseph Smith Jr. had nothing to do with the composition in the Book of Mormon. So I throw up my hands because things are failing that Mormons were supposed to accomplish, and they're not getting done. You know, people have been fooled into thinking that prophecy is some mystical, magical thing that we as people are not in control of. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just going to happen. It's God's will. If it happens, it happens. And we give up. We give up our agency to this superstitious idol worshiping. Prophecy happens because we choose to have it happen. So, guess what? The enemy, yeah, they're fulfilling everything from Scripture because they want to. They're the bad guys. They're purposely using the Bible against us. They know Jesus is a fraud of Constantine. They know he doesn't exist. They know he's not real. And therefore they know he's not going to come to save people. And thus they think they're going to get away with this. And so far, yeah, they're getting away with it. And I've lost people for saying, yeah, Joseph Smith's first vision tells Mormons that 1, we're not Christian, 2, we're not supposed to become a Christian organization, and 3, there's no Jesus Christ. All right there in the first vision. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints' prophets keep telling us the lie. Oh, it's literal history. It literally happened. It's history. And ex-Mormons. There are those who have found out, no, it can't be history, or at least historically accurate, because there's some problems. There's other historical facts that contradict and make things complicated and give a backstory And I myself, having done real church history, have made discoveries about the real background that's going on with the history. So that it's not Egyptian gold plates, 200 pounds therefore, and over $4 million of value. No. It's code. And what are we told in that story? Well, we're told it's supposed to be Nephi. The church refuses to acknowledge it, even after the Joseph Smith papers have come out. They still demand and insist that Joseph Smith was wrong. He didn't know what he was talking about, and it's Moroni, not Nephi. It's Nephi because of the code. Because the Book of Mormon is coded. But he is told by the angel of latter-day dangers and destructions to America from the certain scriptures that are quoted to him. It's coded. And so in the Book of Mormon, we're given signs in the heavens, which are actual dates. Star date. Everybody knows Star Trek. Everybody knows that they keep time by star dates. If you are uncertain about a future as to whether or not they're going to have your same calendar after so many millennia, you use star dates so that the future won't be confused by your placing it in a calendar time period. If you saw the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, she believes that a scientist needed to go on this trip rather than a person of religious faith and going to present the message of a deity to aliens. And so math became the basic communication that the universe and lizard space aliens would understand. Oh no, lizard space aliens are satanic. Or Nazi, if you saw that part of the movie where, the radio message they received was of what we put out in the first place. And they're going, oh no, Hitler announcing the Olympics, oh evil, it's a threat, we're under attack. Activate the president and the military. People just don't think when they allow religion and political bias to interfere. And I'm still frustrated with the ending. The author apparently needed somehow to salvage religion and faith over science. But there were 18 hours of blank tape. Why didn't you let her know about it? Instead, she's now thinking, oh, maybe science isn't real after all. Maybe there is something to this faith. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. So, there was a video I did that explained the danger we faced, and I refused to do it because it was so dark and dreary. But again, we've already been told by MAGA their plans, and it's sooner. See, right now, yeah, they're causing lots of chaos. They're preventing the deep state Dems from doing things, and the deep state Dems are falling for it and not doing things. Just like, oh, you guys are threatening us? Okay, here's American citizens. Leave us alone. Hurt them. Yeah, they're not the kind of people we want defending us. Because they're not defending us. They're hurting us by their failure in government. And yes, that kind of action is complicity in criminal activity. They're just taking too long to do investigations of the obvious. And so yes, we're in our problems that we're in because of the failure of government. America has collapsed. This is the consequences of a failed government. And it's going down in flames right before our very eyes. And nobody has ever seen such a thing happen before. The collapse of a nation. And so nobody recognizes it. Because nobody does research on past failures of governments and their collapses. And so MAGA has told us they already have articles of impeachment all ready to go. When? January 2023. I don't understand why Bill Maher keeps missing this part. They will sweep the midterms because Americans are dumb. They're brainwashed. And we've seen it over the decades. When a Democrat president takes office, the midterms are a conservative GOP takeover. And it nullifies the presidency. That's been the pattern. This time, we've got the pattern, and we purposely have the GOP in the various states, including Utah, doubling down to make sure they do have the election rigged for the midterms. And then the Supreme Court stepped in and say, oh yeah, GOP can do whatever they want. So our vote doesn't count anymore. The elections will be overturned if by chance they didn't seal all gaps that were exposed in the presidential election for 2020. And with a sweep of Congress, both houses, Biden and Harris, are both gone. January 2023. And we already know that Kevin McCarthy will become Speaker of the House. But he's not going to take the presidency because the impeachment and indictment, or the impeachment and conviction of Biden and Harris will mean that the 2020 election was a fraud, and therefore Trump is still a legitimate president. And so the conclusion from those impeachment proceedings will put Trump back in office January 2023. And Trump has told us exactly what he's wanted to do, and the news has exposed what he wanted to do but was told no. And Bill Maher told us Trump will make sure that the right people will be put in place this time who won't say no. And then we get to the video I did not dare put on YouTube of what's coming with Trump back in office, with nobody telling him no. And you may be a white supremacist listening to this, laughing and putting the thumbs down. It will hurt you too. You know about the devil does not support his own. That's a precept. And you've seen the movies where criminals, get betrayed by their own people. Because you can't have loose ends. Guess what? You're low on the totem pole. You're the loose ends. And so yes, it might be all fun and games at the beginning when you're used for their purposes. And when they're done with you, bye-bye. You too. And then it's not going to be fun anymore. And for Mormons who are MAGA, who are likewise coming to this video to laugh and put a thumbs down. We're a part of the true church of Jesus. Jesus guides this church. The same one that Joseph Smith said is a fraud. It's the same thing. I see what's going on. I know the history. I know the warning. I see the warning being fulfilled. Because right there in the Book of Mormon, it tells us the time frame for the latter days, with the star date, 2017 to 2024. There were a number of prophecies that Mormons, had they been good, needed to have done. A simple basic one. Hearts of men shall wax cold. Yeah, all you had to do was say, no, I will not be mean and hate my fellow human beings. Nope, couldn't even do that. You purposely fulfilled that prophecy to be the bad guys, to be mean, to have your hearts wax cold towards fellow human beings, like me. I came to Utah with the message that Joseph Smith is scientifically confirmed. And Mormon said, burn the witch. The prophets have attempted to assassinate me because I know the plot. And the prophets are in on it. The little black book, that video I did, way back when now, seems so long ago. The news had it exposed. Somebody hacked it and leaked it. I did the video on it. The Scousins are in that membership of the secret combination that is trying to destroy America. And Steve Bannon is among those names. Remember, he got indicted yesterday. The Daily Beast interviewed him in 2016, a couple of months before the election. And he said he's a Leninist. He wants to see things burn to the ground. That's what he's been doing. Started with America, then went to Europe. As all these authoritarians were winning elections, causing chaos. And then the rise of Putin and Xi, Kim. And the Brazilian president. And the Philippines mess. All over the world. I've warned you about the psychological or psychologist playing the mind game part of it. How they were used by Nazis in World War II against the Jews. How America took them in rather than having them punished. And had them working with our CIA. And there have now been documents that have been declassified where all this is exposed. And yet we're too distracted by other things to understand what is going on. That's their whole point. Did the 3 Ds from the A-Team: distract, divert, divide. We are distracted, we are diverted to divide us, to conquer. Straight from the art of war. The art of war is being used against us. We are at war. And we're losing. We've got many casualties. I've been telling you to follow the medical doctors. People didn't. Look where we are now because we didn't follow medical doctors. And it's the worst casualty event in American history. And it's still going. It's not getting stopped. Utah is now in the news as being the worst. Because it's now, as we were told by medical doctors, it goes in waves across America. It dies down a little bit, then comes back. Because America have states next to each other. And people are still wandering around, spreading it. And so we saw in the beginning government leaders all over the world fail to listen to the medical doctors. Purposely fail. Because we've all seen the movies and the TV shows about outbreaks. We know what needs to be done. And they didn't do it. Purposely to cause the spread and escalation. Some of the older generation who are listening might know of the depopulation agenda that was declared in the UN meeting way back in the day. Rather than control the economy to prevent everyone from prospering. They allow governments to have whatever kind of economy they want, and if the consequences are that there's too much of a population for such economy, because when you use a monetary system of economy, you will always have an economic division of the classes. You'll have rich and poor. And depending on the function of the economy, variations of poor and rich on a spectrum scale. And that's why nations fall, is the abuse of economies on the populace, such that the poor get too numerous and suffer too much that they rise up. Les Miserables. And so when you see the church during all this, and you're not, because you're being distracted by the world. So you think the church is just, they're just doing their normal thing, nothing to see here, move along. You're missing certain things. When Nelson took over, very first conference, gets up, announces the temples after destroying the high priest group. Did he get rid of the, I think he also got rid of home teaching at the same time. Became the ministry. So nobody gets seen anymore. Nobody gets cared for anymore. Nobody is set in place for some kind of an outbreak, so that everybody could be watched out for and taken care of during such an outbreak. But he announces he's working with Russia. Monson just died. Senator Orrin Hatch rushed through the tax bill that he claimed was for the poor because he grew up poor. A big old argument he had in the Senate committee meeting that went viral. No, it was for the church. He's Mormon. He's the Utah Mormon senator. What he does is for the church. He lies and says it's for the people, and Trump believed it was for him, and yes, in part it was to help Trump too. That's why Trump rewarded him with a medal. But it was for the church. And so the church, with the convenient timing of the death of Monson, then have LLC corporations. And they're getting $32 billion now from an unknown source, thanks to the tax bill. They don't have to report it. And Nelson then gets up as the brand new president, prophet, seer, revelator, not translator. Boy, is that the truth. As we have learned. And a major city yet to be determined in Russia. And if you're unaware of Putin and Russia, nobody does anything without Putin's permission. But if you don't know about Putin and Russia, you wouldn't know that. So the church didn't make a deal with a local place, if you're thinking in terms of American business and how Americans do business in America, you're going to be deceived as to how things work in Russia. You have to compromise yourself to do business with Russia. You have to do them a favor, though, in Russia, if you want to do business there. And so the church gets $32 billion? What kind of favor? He does away with the high priest group, does away with home teaching, does away with an hour of church to learn about Mormonism. He keeps buying up land for temples, especially in Utah. The church is buying up Utah? Why would they want to buy up Utah? The whistleblower exposed why. The first presidency came out and said, we're just following the parable of the talents. No, you can't do that with a tax-exempt status. Tax-exempt status is not for preparing for a second coming or Armageddon. That kind of disqualifies you. So you've been lying to the IRS. But the parable of the talents is your excuse? That's about saving souls for the afterlife. And you're claiming you're collecting money because of that parable? And so in the parable, those who increased their money were rewarded by Jesus at the second coming after Armageddon, and he gave the money back to them and said, keep on going, make more money. That's your justification for why you're committing tax fraud and insurance fraud and other financial frauds and crimes with the protection racket of tithing? That again, there are whistleblowers who've exposed the church, not just the one. And our Attorney General is just taking his time. And when you take too long, you fail. The church knows because they're in on it. So what happens after destruction of governments, destruction of nations, collapse of economies? Well, here you have the church. They own land all over the world. And they're filthy rich. They are the richest organization in the world. Although Putin is sort of hiding wealth as well, it's uncertain. But the church is sitting on multi-trillions of assets, both liquid and in real estate. Are you unfamiliar with Scripture that prophesies of a kingdom on earth for the millennial reign of peace? Again, it's not going to happen magically by somebody who doesn't exist. We, the people, have to make things happen. And so the church knows this. They're making it happen through criminal means. Well, the ends justify the means, Travis. Hell no. You become the bad guys. And we know Nelson is what he's got planned for his millennial reign of peace with his restored kingdom of Deseret. Temple Square is Zion. Salt Lake Temple with the inverted pentagram of Lucifer described by Isaiah himself is the keystone. Where did that come from again? Brigham Young was the one who ordered it to have put on there. Where did that come from again? Which organization that all the news and government says, oh, no, they don't exist anymore. They're gone. No threat to America. Church history says otherwise. And we were warned by Joseph. So yeah, Nelson changed the law of chastity, distracted you with the law of obedience, making women believe that, oh, they're letting up on the oppression and slavery of women in the church. You got played. He set things up for polygamy. The law of obedience will be changed back. If he can change it, he can change it back. Remember, he keeps doing that. Took away the women's session for October conference. The backlash, he put it back. He keeps trying to do things, and he has to keep reversing them. So again, people are telling Nelson no. I wonder what would happen if nobody told him no. And so yeah, you can't start polygamy up again because it's still illegal. But the church is working behind the scenes with the freedom of religion movement, so that they can get away with crime as a religion. But they're also setting things up for Armageddon and this second coming with Jesus. I don't understand. And maybe it's because you purposely don't want to know that the Jews have a Christ. It's Moses. That's why they don't accept Jesus. Because the future man like Moses, according to the Jews, Deuteronomy 18, has certain requirements, and Jesus doesn't fit them. But it doesn't matter, it was created by Constantine. The Gospels were apocalyptic literature too, like the book of Revelation. And so there are signs in the heavens, and thus give us a star date that is harmonious with the other books, even Revelation. But everybody misses it. because everybody thinks it's a real history of events that have already occurred. So if they've already occurred, they can't be a star date for the future. This is how people get deceived. This is how Mormons got deceived. Oh, gee, that was a prophecy too? Even in Joseph Smith's own records, Mormons will be deceived. So when Benson came out at BYU and took it out for conference, where he said, but the Constitution will not be saved in Washington, as Joseph Smith prophesied. People don't seem to understand what prophecy is because the prophets don't want you to know. You have to fulfill it. So when Joseph Smith says there will be a star date in the future when America will be in jeopardy and the Constitution will be on the brink of ruin, 19 July 1840. It's now up to Mormons to look for the star date to come and be prepared to defend America and the Constitution. Not go to the Capitol to overthrow America and the Constitution and have your picture on the front page of the press hanging from the Senate walls and then being memorialized in last week's episode of Bill Maher as a commemorative coin. Yes, he's Mormon from Idaho. He has a job working with children. And he's a traitor. He pled guilty. It's the 22nd when his next hearing is, I believe we went over. I don't think it was the 19th. It was the 22nd. I have associative memory, as I told you yesterday. The 19th is something else, so I know it's not the 19th. The 19th is a lunar eclipse that will be the longest. So over Utah, it'll be a partial. So I did not start YouTube to just trash the church, to just make things up, to be mean and hate the church. That was never my intention. It's still not my intention. Like I said, I came to Utah with confirmation that Joseph is right. That's what I started my YouTube channel for. And then I kept learning things. And so I did the videos to inform you and then warn you. Because I was putting the pieces together. And the church wants me silent, as they are back to trying to have me assassinated. Because I know this information that I'm getting out to you, and they don't want you to know it. And YouTube's doing their bidding. There's a financial tie also. If you do not see the patterns of Nazi Germany, then you're oblivious to what's going on right now and what's coming. That will be far worse than Nazi Germany. Because again, there were people who said no, and Nazi Germany was conquered and stopped. But the path we're headed on, it's not just a collapse of America. It's the formation of the greatest evil this world has ever known. And so the hearts of men shall wax cold. That's saying it mildly. Alright. Well, let's get the day going. Like I told you, I was the first one, I beat Bill Mayer even, to have you do your Christmas shopping early. I hope you listened, because now it's too late, right? You'll have to spend more for less opportunity to get what you want to give to others. And now I'm coming out with the warning and urging you, as one who knows the big picture, to start communicating, having discussions with your friends and family about how to pool your resources and work together to survive. Because Mormons failed to accomplish certain things that needed to be done. And so there are going to be no good consequences. You can't do bad or neglect to do things and expect the consequences to be all great and smiley. In order to have the consequences, you need to do what's necessary. Not the end justifies the means. That's a justification for being bad. If you want to produce oranges, you have to plant orange seeds. That's what I'm referring to. You can't plant weeds. You can't plant apple seeds if you want oranges. And so if you want Zion, you failed. It's not going to happen now. If you want the millennial reign of peace, you failed. It's not coming now. You failed. You got deceived. You did the enemy's bidding. And so now you have to reap those consequences. You planted weeds, you're going to get weeds. And so I'm just trying to salvage those who will listen. Because as the Book of Mormon warned us, there is the likelihood of none of the prophecies being fulfilled, and then instead we'll have the entire destruction of the people, both Ether and Moroni. That's what we're now looking at. Because Mormons failed.